I imagine it's very hard to sort of gauge your emotions when you contemplate the sentencing of Ghislaine Maxwell, but what emotions are you?
Um, there's, as I'm sure you can imagine, a mixture of emotions. I never thought this day would happen, and as I'm sure you know, there's been so many things, obstacles along the way. So I'm relieved that eventually this day has come. However, this was an international sex trafficking operation, which was, international. And I feel that not everyone has been held accountable. So
who do you feel has not been held accountable? Do you feel that not everyone has been prosecuted who could be prosecuted?
absolutely. I think that, the likes of Sarah Kalin, Leslie Groff, this was a very sophisticated sex trafficking ring. It didn't just happen with Ghislaine and Jeffrey. There were a lot of people who were who were involved, the doctors, the hairdressers, the staff members that facilitated this, they all were witness. The men that sexually abused us and raped us, I mean, why have they not been held accountable? So, the government institutions, it's, Jeffrey's dead, Jean-Luc Bernal's dead, and Ghislaine's in jail. This wasn't a three-man band. This was an international sex trafficking operation where hundreds, if not thousands, of young girls and young women were trafficked and raped every single day.
And Liz, tell us what happened to you. Let's hear your story.
So I met Ghislaine Maxwell in the fall of 1994. I was a senior in college at the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York City, and I was working for a high-end Fifth Avenue retailer. She came into the store one day, and her regular salesperson was not there, so I offered to help her. And we shopped together, and we immediately hit it off. We had a really wonderful conversation that day, and something that I would frequently do to help out my high-end clients was that I would offer to deliver their packages so they didn't have to carry them all day long. And, I offered to deliver her packages, and I had a very hard and fast rule where I wouldn't deliver directly to anyone's residence or hotel room, but I would go to, I'd drop to a hotel concierge or to a doorman. And I called to arrange for the delivery of the packages, and I was instructed to bring them to a hotel close by to the store. And when I arrived at the concierge with the packages, they let me know that Ghislaine was in the bar and she wanted me to meet someone. So I went into the bar, and the person she wanted me to meet was Jeffrey Epstein. And we exchanged pleasantries and ordered drinks, and the hotel concierge came over and let them know that their room was ready. And I was confused because although I had just met her, it was my understanding that they lived not far away, and I didn't really understand why they would be staying in a hotel. And they told me that there was some construction going on in their residence and they needed to be out for a few days, and that's not uncommon, when people are doing renovations. And we wound up going up to their room, which is something that I did against my better judgment, and it was in the room that night that they first assaulted me.
And did you feel that she was playing the role of luring women in for Jeffrey Epstein? Did you sense after the event that that's what her aim was all along?
That wasn't my initial. You have to understand, I thought this was something that just happened to me. I thought these were wealthy people that I had met, and I thought that I was the only person this happened to. So I wasn't really thinking that it was some elaborate sex trafficking operation. Also, my story happened in the 90s, kind of at the beginning of all of this, so perhaps it wasn't as sophisticated as it became, and Ghislaine was definitely more hands-on early on. So, my experience, it just wasn't even in my realm of thought to think that this was some kind of orchestrated,
Yeah, I understand. Operation.
Yes,
I understand
yes.
that. Sarah, what was your experience? How does your experience relate to Liz's?
There's actually quite a lot of similarities. And again, when I was trafficked, I had no understanding of the complexity and the sophisticated sex trafficking ring that I was in. There's the FIT, the Fashion Institute of Technology connection. There's the similar age. And for me, what's been heartbreaking is that almost every single one of our stories are identical. I came to New York after an abusive relationship. I didn't know anybody in the city. I was incredibly vulnerable. I was a baby, 22. I don't care what anybody says is young, and you don't have a lot of life experience. And all I wanted to do was make some girlfriends and have a good time, and and that's the sophistication where they actually got girls to recruit other young women. I mean, I was recruited by someone who befriended me, who I trusted. I didn't think that she was sort of selling me. She got paid for me. All our stories are the same, and it's just really disappointing that it's taken this long and this many women coming forward to bring these guys down. This was first reported in, I think, 1996 by Maria Farmer, by the FBI, and here we are in 2022, and this is actually the first prosecution. The 2008 was a joke. That was not and for me, that was not a prison sentence. But for me, this is the first time, and Liz and I were discussing it the other day, and I was 10 years old. I was 10 years old when Liz was being trafficked. That is the scale, that is the length of time that this has been going on. I was 10 years old when Liz was being raped.
And it continued to go on after.
And it continued to go on until, we survivors, brave survivors, came forward. And let me tell you, it has been one uphill struggle. There's been obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. Even this juror coming forward. You couldn't even make this up if you tried, and it should never have actually been this hard.
Do you think they care? Do you think they felt invulnerable? Do you think they didn't care at all about consent and issues of normal human decency? Did they feel above that, do you think? Do you think they thought nothing would bring them down?
They're rapists. They're rapists.
Absolutely.
Rapists don't really think of consequences when they start raping children and young women. And that's why I've been fighting for 6 years to hold these people accountable. Now, the fact that they are rapists and feel that we are not human being, we're not worthy, that they can violate another human being and feel that that's okay. These people are sick and need to be off the street. And that is one thing that really tears at my soul, is that not once has Ghislaine shown 1 ounce of remorse or responsibility And that is why we have, to our own detriments, the sacrifices to get her off the street, because people aren't safe with these people on the street.
Liz, do you feel that they've focused their attention on specific cases and there's been no interest in you getting justice, you having your story told?
Can I ask, in what way do you mean that?
Only in that this seems to me that you just heard, I was just hearing that from your lawyer, that they focused the indictment very narrowly on minors. Do you feel that no one has listened to you, that the establishment has not been interested in hearing your story, in getting justice for you specifically, not necessarily against Ghislaine Maxwell generally?
I think that you need to understand that I'm only just coming public. I've only just been public with my story since the end of the trial. So, you know, I'm not quite sure how to answer your question.
I understand. So, Sarah, do you have a thought on that?
I do, like usual. That's why I've been fighting as hard as I have, and I don't think people really realize the sacrifices that I've made in my own life. I'm horrified that people like Liz and I don't matter. The system has literally raped us again and taken our voices and silenced us. Now, I am in full support of Liz and her story, and I guarantee you they will hear Liz's story. And I think it's shocking. You know, I think a lot of women still haven't had their statements taken by the FBI. I think the whole thing stinks, and I think they've made it very clear that if you are of age and you are raped, you don't matter. And I'm here to tell you, we do matter, and we are not going away.
I think on that point, it was really distressing to me in particular for there to be so much focus on the minor victims. The minor victims, of course, deserve, you know, the attention that they got, but it was almost as if the assumption that just because Sarah and I were above the age of legal consent, that we were somehow emotionally able to, you know, to make a competent decision about what was happening to us. It almost feels invalidating that, you know, just because we are of the age of consent, it's kind of doesn't matter.
Rape is rape at the end of the day. I mean, it doesn't matter what age, rape, class, gender, you know, how high your heels are, what shade your lipstick are, you know, is, you know, rape is rape. Like that's it. There's no debate on that. Rape is rape. And I'm very disappointed. Really disappointed in the system and how we've been treated.
I very much understand. Just finally, before we go, she may get 20 years. Prosecutors are pushing for 20 years in prison. Does that matter to you? How many years she gets in prison? The scale of the punishment? How much does that affect your sense of well-being?
I can say that I feel like I've been in jail for more than 2.5 decades. I think that she needs a serious period of contemplation, a very long and serious period of contemplation. I think that the length of her sentence definitely matters. I really am hoping for the best. She needs to be in jail for, if not the rest of her entire natural life, the majority of it. And I hope that we see that tomorrow.
Sarah, do you agree?
For me, she just needs to spend the rest of her life in prison, as far as I'm concerned. And if she just will never, ever hurt another child or young woman in this lifetime again.
We weren't shown leniency or compassion, so, you know, why she needs to be shown leniency or compassion right now is
beyond belief, really.
Yeah. Well, listen, we're very grateful for you taking the time to tell us your stories. I know how it's not an easy thing to do, and it's very important that these things are heard, and we're very grateful for you taking the time to speak to us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.